Map 3. Map 3 is a little bit longer. I'll try to speed this up a little bit, guys, because I know that I'm kind of taking a little bit of time. I'm just spinning off a lot of things. But yeah. Um, yeah. I don't really got much else to say aside from yeah. um,
Real.
I have contenders just playing in the background because got to support tier 2. This map, if you notice all the maps that Atlanta has chosen, it's been more so prioritized to them allowing them to play Brawl, right? These are maps that should make Brawl very streamlined or easy, right? They picked Hanamura, now they pick Kings Row, they're going to pick Havana as the last map. But obviously Shanghai are trying to avoid playing any sort of Brawl. If anything, they play double shield or they're going to play a dive kind of meta, right? Okay. So, Dragons, we see that they're playing a DPS kind of composition. They're not playing Pharah. We see on the side of Rain, Rain is playing a Brawl, but instead of Mei, they're playing Tracer. Does this make sense? Yes, because if they had Mei, it would mean, again, they're very much stuck playing one side of the map and giving up all this control to Shanghai. They have Tracer so they can at least fight for a little bit of the map, right? So they're able to hold the left side a little bit. Atlanta is choosing as a core to hold the right side. Either way, I think that's fine. I think this is good decision in terms of compositionally by Atlanta. In terms of Dragons, I would prefer to see a double shield than a ball here, to be honest with you. I feel like double shield is much better. But that's just me. So you see Atlanta has already given up a lot of space. Most of the time with Brawl, there's two ways you can look to win. You can try to make an aggressive play here when you bait them to point and just try to catch anyone off through a hotel. Or you can kind of just hold here, wait, bid your time, and hopefully somebody's able to pop off and get some sort of kill or anything like that. Don't think it's going to be, I don't want to say it's not going to be possible, but I don't think it's going to work out for them in their favor that way. But we'll kind of see what ends up happening. So again, you see in terms of Shanghai and how they're doing it, huge amount of space, right? They have all this high ground here. They have this entire point side here. And Liv's in a good position, so he's not with his team, but he can play this angle or move up to this angle later on, or he can stay here and just pressure from behind and intercept this aggressive push from Atlanta. As Shanghai tries to take control of the right side of the map and the point side, Atlanta looks to make a play towards Hotel. They don't really see anyone aside from Lip. Lip does get caught up from getting dove by Hawk solo and the rest, but we look at the rest of Shanghai, right? Void is now pressuring the points. His backline is set up very comfortably on this top left here. And Fate is just pretty much running interception towards the rest of the team of Atlanta, towards their own main. And Flood is just going to work against anyone that he can see. So the space that Shanghai controls, they controlled all this space. Void went to go pressure point, and Void's main focus is pressuring point and surviving. So you see him, even though he's half HP, and even though he would have multiple people help him, his Tracer, Zen, Bap, right? He's backing up because he's below half HP. He knows that he'll die if he stays any longer. Uses resources defensively. They've now forced Atlanta into an open area. Lamp comes out a little bit late to try to save Fate. But you see this pressure still coming down. Atlanta is going to go for a similar play probably yet again, right? Backline intercept that, or believe that Pelican would come for them, because Pelican is trying to make a play, even though they have multiple members more alive on the side of Atlanta than Shanghai. They understand that Shanghai has still better map control and better space, and they have closer respawn. So they need to make a play so that they can convincingly win the fight. That's why Pelican went up here and he tried to kill one of the supports, hoping that they would be isolated from each other, or potentially he could pick them off guard, or get them off guard, sorry. He was unable to do that. Void and Fleta are controlling the point here. Lip is now intercepting in case anyone tries to go through Hotel, which, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan was peeking a little bit in Hotel and he got killed. Now Atlanta's been forced into a corner. They're forced to have to try to contest this point here. And as they try to fight on point and get the value from there, they're just slowly going to their deaths, or quickly going to their deaths, right? Trades are coming out from Atlanta, but it's not enough to try to win and stabilize that point. And a lot of it comes down to Shanghai is doing a great job, even though these fights are being very consistent. How they control space is so good, because even when they're down one member or so, they have such good space control and map control that Rain are forced to try to make hero plays again. So they'll make a hero play at first to try to win the fight, or they make an aggressive play to try to win the fight. And even though they're able to get the value early, they get traded out because of the better positioning from Shanghai. And then, even though they were able to start off the fight very well, it forces Rain to have to make hero plays consistently. It's it's absolutely nuts, to be honest with you. All right. Again, do not really fully agree with this ball. We see that no swaps are coming out from Dragons. Dragons are gonna kind of stick with the same kind of comp. Why is CJ gone on BAP compared to Brig, you would ask? Well, I would say the reason he's on BAP is BAP might get more value than a Brig against Brawl, just because you can shoot, you can heal a little bit better, but also transitioning comps wise, right? This is kind of a hybrid kind of composition, similar to what we saw in Gauntlet of last year, or Owl of last year a little bit. The only difference is this in Brig, right? But it's an easy transition to a double shield kind of composition. And that's why I think Lee Jae Gon staying on this map, is because it's a good transition to double shield. It's one less swap, one less ult that you kind of have to throw away or build. And Brig doesn't get as much value because, again, this is so tight and so enclosed that there's not really easy ways to kite as Brig. Holy cow. Clutch lamp from Iris, but again, a flux will come out from Shanghai and it's not enough. And they've done a great job of baiting here. Again, they did a good job of baiting an engagement onto that first point. They did a great job of baiting an engagement here onto the second point. And it's not just about baiting. I think a big part is Atlanta does have to do this, right, so that they can try to deny space. But they don't have to try to force this fight here. What they should be doing is taking this corner control and then stabilizing from that corner, right? I think it's the right idea of fighting early, getting good fights, but you're being so telegraphed with your plans that Shanghai reads this, and you see how they kite, right? Instantly, Void is going backwards with his flux so that he can try to capitalize on this. Fleto is in a position over here behind to get a pulse kill. Fade is already behind them, trying to get boops or pressure from behind. Supports are backing up, not even back into the choke. They're backing up into this little library hallway area so that they can either peek back out and shoot people if they're in this open, or they could go really aggressive through Hotel. I don't know where Lip is fully. Okay, Lip is just kind of playing main. So he's kind of just like playing this main angle, like over there, which I think is fine, to be honest with you. Playing this angle is okay. Not the best, but not the worst. The key thing here is all the moving parts here, right? Supports had to do their own thing. You know, Sigma had to do his own thing. Flutter was doing his own thing. But they all had the same goal of, we're going to bait in Atlanta and then we're going to fight in this area. And again, if I just drew these arrows and went to somebody and said, tell me why this is impressive, somebody would look at me and be like, I don't know, like, I don't know what this kind of understands. Or if I were to draw this and be like, explain to me what these arrows in the circle means, people would be like, I'm not fully certain. And that's why, again, I'm not saying like it's impressive based off of Shanghai would know this, because maybe they wouldn't, but it's impressive because that blue circle represents where Shanghai is expecting the fight to happen, and all these arrows symbolize actions that they are doing based off of understanding where the fight is going to happen, right? How they're applying pressure or how they're moving based off of the pressure that Atlanta or the fight engagement that Atlanta is trying to force onto them. That is what I find very impressive. And again, to me, it's just crazy insane. Izuyaki gets his Trank forced because he's a little bit too close to them. I think it would have been fine if he just let himself die. I don't think he wanted to die though. It's a little bit unfortunate. I would have hoped that he would just, die instead of using the Trank there. But again, not the end of the world. Pretty decent. And now we see Shanghai is again. They're holding close. They're going to try to force Atlanta to fight for every inch, right? And they're trying to get as much pressure and poke and build ults as fast as they can, right? So Atlanta have many ults coming out in this fight. They have Beat, they have Bomb, they have Pulse. They're gonna have maybe a Shatter and a Noon, excuse me, going into this fight. They have to get value with this Mines, or else it's going to be very hard for them, right? Because it's going from this is the most open area that you can get on second point, right? It's hard with your comp from Shanghai to win the fight here because it's very enclosed at this point, right? So they have to try to get the value in this area, like this area. So they have to try to bait another engagement here from Atlanta, but if Atlanta's smart, they won't do that. Atlanta will kind of just chill back and they'll wait to see. So Atlanta instead decide to walk out. They walk out into a dynamite. And the backline already knows that they're going to get run at. So you see Izuyaki, Void, and Lee Jae-gon set up in positions where they can't get run at really easily. Void playing a little bit more aggressive. Even though Izuyaki isn't going to be able to put as much damage down because of his LOS isn't the best, he's putting himself in the safer position overall to the ability to frag harder, right? Void is playing in a different area to where he's the bait to get run at. And again, Lee Jae-gon's in a position where he can assist both, and the only person that can really kill him is probably going to be Hawk, right? And again, the angles are really good. Flutter was set up behind. Fate was set up top. They have multiple angles onto these guys as they're walking out. And this is the impressive part. They have multiple angles as Atlanta is walking out here. So Fate puts mines out, so it discourages Atlanta to try to push on through here. It means that his backline is able to play more aggressively without any kind of fear. Bomb comes out. They immort so that they can keep Void alive. And Bob is set in a position behind to force it so that the backline cannot contest it, right? They're forced back because tanks are separated from them. They need to respect the Bob damage and potential that Fleta could have to kill them. Again, all of this comes down to the start of that fight and the angles that they have and how the backline already anticipated what Rain was going to do. Again, in not even a long time, in such a short time, they determine all of that and they're able to get the value. Like, that is the impressive part I'm talking about all this in real time a little bit, but to actually be in game and understand everything going on, and on top of that, it's very impressive that Shanghai is able to accomplish this really well. Again, key example of Atlanta, or showing Atlanta has to fight for every inch. We see how Shanghai is positioned. Look how forward they're positioned, right? They're pretty much positioned in a way that they're getting a lot of damage and they're holding a little bit of space as tanks to force, some sort of cooldown. They forced the shift from D.Va, they forced Sonic, they forced Storm, right? They didn't force a lot of cooldowns there from Pelican and from the supports, right? But they force good cooldowns from a DPS and already a tank, right? To where they can stay here, but compared to Dragons have way more abilities to retake that space that Atlanta's trying to take from them. Pelican tries to go for a play. As he goes for a play again, Izyaki's put himself in the safest position he can possibly be in, because he knows he doesn't have a break to enable him, right? So it's great that he's playing more to value his life than playing to be very aggressive with his damage. And again, as they go forward here, right? As Atlanta goes forward this way, we have Shanghai. We have Fleta looking for a play over here. We have Fate just running interception behind them here by going through main, right? The rest of the team from Shanghai is playing towards this line, right? And now, again, it's a situation of Atlanta is sandwiched. Atlanta is now in pretty much this vicinity and sandwiched by multiple players from Shanghai. And it's just, again, it's so impressive. You love to see that kind of stuff, honestly. I'm just thoroughly impressed. And now, Lip went down, sadly, I believe, but Shanghai is still, even though they don't have any alts online, they're close to some alts. They are still poised to win this, as long as they have people touching the points. So again, they are instantly backing up, knowing that they don't want to, they're not bait, they don't want to be rushed at, right? They want to create some distance so they can spam a little bit more and spam really hard. But while this is all happening, sadly, no one is set up on this close high ground. No one's set up over here yet. So Fate is on cart alone by himself. This wall is going to be very strong in terms of disrupting the LOS of the Shanghai members. And look how low Fate is. It forces Fate to be back. This window here from Iris is really unnecessary. It seemed like he thought they were going to consistently keep pushing forward against this squad of Shanghai. Do I agree with that? I don't, because if they did do that, then they would have still had these angles that they would have to contest here, right? And they would have ran into multiple angles and probably just died. So a little bit too over aggressive or miscommunication happened there. As that's going down, right? As Masa goes to push forward with the window, as Kai tries to clear this as well. Multiple actions going on at once by Atlanta. They get picked apart by those angles that I was talking about that they haven't even cleared yet. And now Hawk is in a poor position to kind of go down as well, right? And this is when the ults come out from Atlanta, or from, sorry, Shanghai to re-engage on this fight. And this is a good kind of semblance of why Shanghai is so good. They had the angles. They don't even give up the angles. They hold those angles as much as they can, and then they back up, and then boom, instantly, as many resources are utilized and kills go in Shanghai's favor, Shanghai cleans it up by just killing them before they can test those angles and then pushing in together as a team with an ult or two. And again, like Atlanta, like it makes it look easy from Shanghai, but it's so hard because there's so few teams that do that, right? You think about Chengdu, right? Like I've talked about Chengdu. I talked about this angle kind of concept with Chengdu a lot. And Chengdu don't even hold angles as well as Shanghai does. Shanghai is the best team at holding angles. Chengdu was just one of the first to do DPS comp so many times and use the concept of angles very well in OWL. In terms of dragons just have mastered. Like I said, they have mastered that kind of style, which is super cool to see. And even though I don't agree with the DPS kind of composition that dragons had, they still find a way to make it work, right? And it comes down to snowballing. They went from the first point and they snowballed it because they knew exactly what Rain was doing, and they baited the engagements very well every single time. They had the angle control against Atlanta as well, and Atlanta don't clear out those angles properly. And again, they're able to get that sort of value. All right. So now, instead of playing Brawl, Atlanta has given up on the idea of Brawl and says, well, you know what? They're probably not going to play Brawl against us here either. So we know they're going to probably play some sort of DPS comp. Let's play something with Torb again. Torb's in. Okay, so what should we play with Torb then? Should we play Brawl with Torb? And Atlanta probably are thinking to themselves and say, why play that? We should just look to play instead of that. Let's play a composition where we can bunker up, right? So let's play, I don't know, let's play something with Brig so we can counter, and let's have 2 shields instead of just having rush. Because we're not going to be able to rush anything because we never are able to reach the backline anyways. So why not just play something where we can hold space for a long period of time? If they come to us, we can deal with them, but we have some long range damage. That's probably what Atlanta was thinking in this scenario. Hence why they pulled out this kind of composition. And now, again, this, even though they changed up their composition, the difference between Brawl and this is they're still going to hold together a limited amount of space. But with this comp, they have pressure at long range, and aside from pressure at long range, they also have the ability to, they're just going to hold a singular space, right? Whereas Brawl, they're going to hold together a space and then they're going to explode out. That's not what's going to happen with Double Shield. Double Shield, they're going to hold space and they're going to hold it as long as they can. And then if anything, they'll back out to more cover, right? So this is where it's really important if you're Shanghai to hold space properly. Because if you do not hold space properly, you're just going to go down. Right away, just want to point out, Fate's half HP, this is the value of turret. They put turret super far back so it wouldn't get destroyed, but also because as Kai is kind of pressuring from this bus side, right? Because he's not going to die unless Izayaki hits a 5-man orb. Fate understands that and tries to go for maybe an engagement or try to pressure him out. He instantly takes quite a lot of his HP just from the turret as he's going up in the air. And as this is all happening, Shanghai still are set up really well in terms of angles, right? Look at the angles that they have right now, right? Aside from Void, I think Void got pulled. I'll double check to make sure that Void did get pulled there. And no, Void was just on the grounds. I think Void just got rocked out of his shift. Okay, that makes sense. He should have been playing more this way. He was getting really greedy with the damage there. But regardless of him dying there, right? Like using him even before he died, you have 1, you had 2, you have 3, you have 4. Like Fate's gonna engage in this area. Like I won't even count him as an angle. Like you still had like 4 angles. Like even with Void down, you still have 3 angles. Like that is crazy as hell. Like it's great that Shanghai is abusing this so much. Because then we look at it, right? Masa forces out 1 angle, that's great. Kai is forcing out another angle. They're able to still get a pick onto Izayaki. So just some good dome shots there, probably from Pelican. But this just shows you Atlanta's double shield comp is the better kind of composition than the Rush. Because on Rush, you notice that they weren't clearing out angles properly. Now you look at it, right? They're playing this double shield comp like they were last time. Since they're forced to play slower because they have to play their range, they're just like, okay, well, let's walk up. Let's try to kind of force them out slowly. And this is, again, the power of turrets. Turret is making it easier for them to deal with flankers because the flankers have to destroy this turret in order to get more value behind them. And why do I say that? I say that because to get more value behind, they want to be at as full HP as possible. Turret's going to make them low HP, make them have to grab a pack, or force them to not be in that area, force them to have to take time to destroy the turret, right? There's a lot of different things. So turret delays it so much, or delays you so much, that it allows them time to play so slow and force out these off angles and the space that Shanghai controls, and then walk in, and then brute force forward. And that's why I like this composition better from Atlanta than the Brawl. Even though the Brawl is their strength, this is a much stronger composition for them because they can still play that Brawl kind of heavy style, but at the same time, they have the ability to slow down their own gameplay and clear out these off angles that Dragons have. Immediately after, though, Dragons, we see they instantly switch over their composition, double shield, with a Mei and Hanzo, right? This kind of composition is a much better kind of take. because now you are forcing them to change their style of play, right? I just talked about how Shanghai are playing space, they're playing angles, they're a DPS comp. Rain had a perfect way of countering this. Now Shanghai are playing a double shield composition, but instead of double shield with a little bit of brawl, it's double shield with a lot of spam damage. So instead of a hybrid comp like Rain has, they're going to play more so for utilizing wall to split up players, but also utilizing Mei and Orisa to hold the front line very aggressively. That should make it so Sigma can go on an off angle on his own, and they still have to deal with multiple, or while Sigma will go on an off angle of his own, Lip can go on an off angle of his own, right? So these two can go on their own little off angles, right? Because Mei and sorry Orisa can hold space main, right? Especially with wall, and they still have major threats. Even if these two go on an off angle together or solo, these he still provides a lot of damage down main with Orisa that he is still a threat. It makes the main core a threat. If they didn't have a Zen, then it would be a different story. So they have now forced it to where they can still play this special space and angle game, but they're going to play more for long range damage compared to being close and playing very aggressively, right? Whereas Atlanta now, they switched to the Mei 2, and it buys more into the brawl, but they have to find a way to potentially clear the angles, right, that they have right now. And if you look at this, they have really good angles and deal with the spam damage, right? So they don't even have Mei playing with the Orisa. They have Mei playing same side as Sigma. She can go for wall. They can play very aggressively together, and these guys can look to utilize that by hitting free shots on the side, or vice versa, right? If they're going forward and focusing on all the spam damage here, then these guys are gonna walk up. You're gonna have a Mei walk up to you, and then a Sigma just shooting you from the side for free. What are you gonna do at that point, right? So this is again, they still have to force out angles, but it's gonna be really bloody hard to force out those angles. Fucking Lip's able to get a free pick again against Iris. And it just shows you that even though Lip is playing Sombra primarily this season, he does have stronger characters. It's just that he is such a menace on Sombra, and he is the strongest Sombra in the world, that why put him on other characters if he's one of the best on such an impactful character like Sombra? Windows get exchanged. Void is now again on this off angle here. Mei is playing to hold space. She still has wall, if I'm not mistaken, so she can look to wall aggressively here, wall off the window, or look to wall off people here, right? She decides to use it at the choke. That's fine because it splits off half and half of the team. The rest of Shanghai, the spam kind of group, is playing towards here. This window is a little bit too aggressive for my liking from Li Jaegon, but it's still not a terrible window, I'll say, from Shanghai. Because it's positioned in a way that they can still get a lot of the spam damage down, and the only way that Atlanta can kind of clear that is if they push past the window. But they need to push the cart first, and that's why they don't push past Shanghai's window there. That plus a combination of the backline is split off from the wall, that it's not a good idea to push past that window. And Shanghai are able to stabilize, and a lot of that came from the pressure coming from here, the pressure coming from here, plus the window. There's so much going on, right? The wall on top, like that they're able to execute and get a lot of value from the spam and from the off angle that Void had. And it's just, again, good heads up play from everyone on that team. All right, we look to see Shanghai back up. Instead of playing this corner, they decide to back up and play space, because I assume they've tracked that Atlanta has a lot of big ultimates online, especially that rally. They can close the distance really easily. This I do not agree with. The reason I don't agree with this is this whole area, at least in Tier 2 and in NA, we call it the corridor of death. And the reason why is because most of the time this is just really hard to fight in as attackers, or defenders, sorry. And if you do lose this fight, it makes it so attackers are able to just cap most of the time second point, and it causes snowballs. So I'm not a big fan of this from Shanghai. Howdy, howdy. Hey, what's up, Felix? I haven't seen you in like ages. How you doing, mate? Man, dude, like, ah, it's been like forever. I'm trying to think of the last time we've talked. I think it was like, it's like 2021 now. I think it was like 2020 or 2019, dude. I've been good. I'm happy to hear you've been doing good. I think you're in school, so hopefully school's been going well for you, man. Um, what have I been up to? Same stuff, honestly, man. I've still been coaching Overwatch, even though the game is kind of dead. I recently took a break from Tier 2 to kind of just do content stuff. So I've been streaming content, uploading to YouTube, doing Twitch streams, kind of reviewing games, going through macro, micro, and like simple concepts that people don't really think about or know. Um, and I just, like I said, took a break from Tier 2 coaching for now. Kind of still LFT for Al this upcoming year, but we'll see what ends up happening. I haven't decided fully what I wanted to do yet. I might go back to coaching tier 2 and doing content. I might just focus on content, potentially on what happens with Al. I might just switch games if I don't make Al. A lot of it has to do with what I want to do pretty much because I'm at a crossroads where I've been grinding this game for such a long time and I still haven't made my goal because my end goal is Al, right? If I can't make Al, then I don't really know what I should do at that point. I am enjoying making content and everything like that, to be honest with you, so it's definitely an avenue I'm thinking about, but I don't know, man, it's still rough. Like, it's pretty rough because not making Al for what? It would be, I think it would be like season 5 now, for 5 years pretty much, is kind of like disheartening, I guess. So. I don't know, just doing the best I can, sharing some of my knowledge and everything like that too. So it's been nice. Okay, Shanghai goes for the fight. Continuing on. They try to go for a fight, and again, you see how easy it is for them to kind of go off that corner. Even though this flex was huge, you see that they're not able to follow up because this distance, this corner to this corner is such a, it's so deceiving, but it's such a large distance that they can't follow up on time because it's not about getting just to here. It's about getting like here because all of Atlanta were on the other side of the corner, right? So if you have to get from here to here, that's a lot longer of a distance than say for example like here to here, which it seems like that's the distance. So it's a little bit, it's like a little mental kind of trick. And from there, Atlanta goes for a re-engage. They're able to kill DJ Gon even though Blizzard comes out from Dragons and a Dragon comes out as well from Lip, Shanghai are still just trying to kind of force chaos and force a lot of fights here. That as long as Kai wins this duel, what should happen is Dragon should just win from here because of their Blizzard, right? Because they're so split up from each other again. He doesn't win the duel, but they're still able to kill Hanzo. And from here, they only have Zen heals to try to keep them alive. Since Zen heals isn't enough to kind of have the burst healing in the same effect as BAP, it goes in favor of Atlanta and it doesn't really work out for them. Yeah, I can see that. As long as your heart's still in it. Is Overwatch 2 on the way? Yeah, I feel like my heart's still in it. I love Overwatch. Like I never won't love Overwatch. Like it's just I could have transitioned to Val like so many times, Felix, but I decided not to, like just because I love Overwatch so much. So definitely heart is in the game for sure. Overwatch 2 is on its way. Apparently Owl will be playing on like an alpha or something in April, but nothing has been said about tier 2. Like no one knows what's happening in tier 2. I think I talked to a few people, and there might be a little bit more news about what tier 2, like what things will be like for tier 2 next year. But I'm very skeptical that you'll be able to play Overwatch 2 um, for anything aside from Owl. So if that's the case, then I don't know what Owl or what doing tier 2 again will really accomplish for you, right? It's a little bit, I don't want to say scuffed, but it could be really, really, it can be handled well or poorly. And to be honest with you, from what I've seen most of the time, it's Blizzard. I'm sure we can agree. Blizzard has handled shit very poorly as of recently, so I don't really trust Blizzard to handle that really well. Holy crap! Lip gets a pick, and they try to contest this at Shanghai, but again, it just goes back to that thing of in this fight, they tried to force an early fight, and even though they got that pick and even though they were so close to making it, it just shows you what happens. Like you can't get another clean fight on like a third clean fight on second if you fight in that corridor of death. And even though it was very much favored for them to win that because they got a good 2 kills now, one on Pelican and one on Kai, they just didn't have the time and space to touch it. Left my ass off, yeah. Would third party tier 2 work better, you think? I feel like I don't know. Like, in my opinion, Felix, third party tier 2 would have worked way better for Overwatch. Like, if Blizzard just supported tier 2, like, or tier 1 and just let third parties deal with it and like just giving them money or like promotion and stuff like that, I feel like Overwatch would be in a much cleaner state than it is now, for sure. But like Blizzard wanted to have their hands in everything, and I feel like it kind of screwed up a lot of stuff. It's just really hard because I feel like Tier 2 has also evolved from what it used to be, where I would see teams grinding together for a whole year together. And now it's come to a point where it's like every month it's just roster shuffles. Like roster shuffle after roster shuffle. And that's just so bad for the scene because how do you learn anything in a month? It's like impossible. You also add to the ecosystem that like Owl can just pick any player they want and they don't have to do anything. You don't make any money in tier 2 at all. So like for coaching it's hard because if an Owl team picks up your player, you literally could have spent like half a year training that player. Owl just scoops them up for no money. And then at that point, if Owl scoops them up for more money, then what do you do at that point? Well, you don't do anything at that point, right? You're just screwed because I don't know. Like I said, you're just screwed at that point in my eyes because then you have to find another player to either train them up or find another skilled player and try to convince them to come to your team. Like and like I said, there's no money in tier 2, so it's so hard to find that and the player base is already so bad that it's just rough. Like I don't know what the answer would be. Like Overwatch 2, I'm hoping would revitalize everything, and that's what you really would hope in terms of like orgs coming back into the scene, tier 2 being at a better kind of point, like Blizzard doing actual things to kind of care, but like I said, I'm like that edgy kid that is like, nah, like I've been like shaded a little bit too, or like, yeah, I've been like shaded a little bit too much a lot of the times, or shafted a lot that I have my doubts about it, to be honest with you. Because they've been promising stuff for years that things would be fixed, but it just never has been. All right, Shanghai's going for a really aggressive engagement with the window. Kai has a good off angle on the right. Atlanta's on the left. Jeez, they forced him into a tiny little corner. They drag in the tiny little corner and corridor. And as that's happening, Lip is still kind of just pressuring from the doorway over here. The rest of them are pressuring out. Where's Kai? Is Kai still here? Blizzard promises. Yeah, I know, dude. It's rough. It's rough, Felix. It's rough. Nothing has changed since you left. So like, I think you made good decisions, good choices, dude. I'll stop distracting you, bro. See ya. It's nice seeing you, Felix. Like, definitely, I'll definitely send you a message sometime for sure soon. I've just been busy, but definitely would love to catch up, see how you're doing, make sure you're doing well, taking care of yourself. Fucking all the AU boys, like, fucking miss you all, like, so much. I wish that before everyone retired, like, when I got around finally to Australia, that, like, I was there a little bit earlier. Because I feel like I would have had a blast with all of you guys. Just unfortunate how things kind of didn't work out, sadly. But what are you gonna do? We will talk later, my friend. Alright, let's see here. Lip goes on a tear on the right. Lip's just a headshot machine on this Hanzo. Jesus, Jesus. Jeez Louise. Alright, let's see what happens next. Okay. Shanghai do have a few aggressive ults that they can utilize. They have Blizzard, Bongo. They will have a flex relatively soon. Rain has a window, so if I had to guess, Rain's either going to Dragon into window here, or they're going to window, push aggressively, and save Dragon for afterwards. They have Rally coming up soon, so they could add like a Rally into the mix, like Dragon Rally, um, window, or sorry, window into Rally. It's gonna be one of the few things. I don't know what they're gonna do. What's up, Swirl? How you doing, man? Hopefully you've been doing well the last few days, Swirl, my guy. All right, let's see here. So Lanta has switched to Brawl now because they feel like potentially a more brawly kind of composition will do better. So that's why Gator's on Ryan. They're gonna full switch to Brawl after probably these ults come up. So Fleta goes for an aggressive Mei ult just on the left side there. He's able to hit multiple members with that Mei ult as well. Toss the Dragon out to try to isolate people, it looks like, from Kai, but I don't know why he Dragon this way. I don't know why he didn't just Dragon this way. And then from here, Atlanta goes for a retaliation with their Blizzard, and it just does not work out. Trank comes out as the defensive ult to keep them alive, and they're able to stay healthy. Nice and healthy and live. That's rough as hell. Yeah, and then what? Like at that point, Atlanta utilized 3-4 ults for, well, 3 ults for nothing. They're now still stuck on this really weird comp. Pelican has switched Genji now instead of Mei, so that they have a larger all-in potential, and they can have him play the flanks to contest it more. And Shanghai is just still playing this corner to try to make it really hard for Rain to take space against them. Absolutely crazy. Kai's able to get a pick onto Izuyaki, it looks like, from when he's transitioning from main to that right side. And they look to rally into Flux here. I don't know about that Flux there from Void. I think once Izuyaki goes down, you don't commit ults there from Shanghai. I think you just like leave it. But Shanghai got like too impatient there. I think that Bongo was good enough. Once the pick goes down, you just keep fighting here. If you get a pick, you can commit, but they didn't get any picks. So they committed 2 ults there for nothing. And I think Dragon and Flux are actually really important here for this fight particularly, because that could just close it out for them. Okay, Atlanta looks to stuff the left side. It sets up Izuyaki and Fleta on the left. Honestly, if Fleta and Lip are switched, this actually could have been disastrous, I think. I feel like this is going to go in Atlanta's favor. Because having a window here on that left side with a Mei does very little. Mei gets more value in closer range than at range, right? Or long range, I should say. So not a lot of damage getting kind of put out there. Lip is still doing a lot of work in the backline here. He gets 2 pretty much. Shatter connects on the Fate, but it looks like Atlanta has Brig on point, and Dragons have to just try to keep contesting solo, and it's just not working out for them. They're individually getting kind of killed. And I think a big part here is Iris is on this high ground uncontested, right, with the window. But a big starting point is this Masa's just on point. Like the Brawl is together on point. They couldn't find a way to disrupt that Brawl or try to get value from an off angle, like with that window there. They didn't get enough value with this window. It was a good idea and good play, but they didn't get any sort of value with it. And from there, it's just Moss is able to stay in the fight consistently, whether it's happening over here or it's happening over here, and they're unable to kill Masa, and Masa's just able to get so much value with Break Inspire and Break CC that Atlanta are just able to cap with time. They do have a minute 31, to be fair. I don't think that's a lot of time to make anything work, but you never know. Could be enough time to make something work, right? All right. All right. Dragons are going to, instead of going DPS comp, they're going to go with a double shield kind of composition. And if I had to guess, they're going to play more around this kind of high ground. See if they set up more towards the high ground or if they set up a split. Okay, looks like they're setting up a split. They have their backline set up on this high. They have Orisa set up on low in this corner here. So they can look to play aggressively this way. They can look to play aggressively this way. I think that's fine. You have good kind of crossfire sort of thing and good damage from one elevation and another elevation. I think that's good. Fleta is set up on the left. So they can bait them in here, and they have to clear Fleta, they have to clear top, they have to clear here. I think this is good. There's so many areas that they have to clear. Let's see if Atlanta will clear those areas properly with their comp. Okay, they scout out. They see that Shanghai are playing double shield, so Pelican decides to switch over to Echo. And as he's playing Echo, Masa decides to go on the Mercy Pocket. Ooh, headshot kill. Not a fan of Fleta being here. I rather Fleta be positioning himself here or just like waiting for people to come over here kind of thing. Something like that. I feel like this sets him up for just getting railed like he just did there. Immediately Void actually drops. Instead of being on the high ground, he wants to stick on the low ground with Fate. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Pelican's on Echo. I feel like if he wasn't on Echo and they were on Break, he would utilize this high ground more. But Void is playing more so with Fate because he knows he needs that shield to survive the extra bit of damage that Atlanta has to push him out. Additionally to that, he has shield so he can stop stickies from, being in a vicinity that could kill multiple people. So he could put a shield out here, drop a shield, and stickies just drop in front, or vice versa. So you can reduce quite a bit of the damage. By clearing out Fleta, it means that all the threats here from Shanghai are in the same vicinity on this left-hand side. So all of Atlanta now just push on forward. Let's see how they take space here, though. So Fate is solo here. The whole backline has now backed up in a safe position because they don't want to be in a range where they're just going to instantly potentially die from this echo, or that they will just take a lot of shots. Ooh, Lip is going on this high. This isn't looking very good for Atlanta right now based off their space control. And the reason I say that, okay, Kai is now going to high ground. Does he spot out Lip? He does. They're taking so long to take this space. Kai is able to get the kill onto Lip. Honestly, that timing is so good from him. I guess if Kai went earlier, he wouldn't have seen Lip and Lip could have killed him. There's the other thing where it's like, if Lip just chilled here a little longer, Kai wouldn't have seen him and he would have just stayed on this high ground. Timing wise, that just didn't work out for Lip. I think the play was right from Lip there to try to make a hero play and try to get some sort of pick in order to give his team an advantage going into this fight. The rest of Shanghai look to push forward. The reason I don't like it is because of how they're playing space from Atlanta. They have a pick onto Tracer. You see that where everybody is, right? So this is why I'm like kind of skeptical about stuff. Like see this positioning right now by them? You have like both your tanks kind of pushing forward. But like what I don't understand is why don't you just have your tanks like positioned here, right? Maybe like Sigma positioning here, like or is it positioning here or something around those kind of lines. Like Pelican is on the off angle to be fair, but I would rather have Pelican just play on here instead of flying down here in my eyes, right? And Kai obviously going on the high ground is a key thing as well. Iris is fine, I think, where he is. I think moving up to the car is probably a little bit better here, or being on this high ground with Kai, but I just feel like they're so slow with setting up. Because look, Pelican now drops to the ground, and now the only crossfire these guys have is this. Because I look at the perspective of where they're all looking. Look at this. Hawk is looking the way of my arrow. Gator's running away because he's has no shift and he's half HP. Kai is looking somewhere else right now. Pelican doesn't even have this high ground, so he can't even pressure properly, right? They've given up this whole choke that should be so hard for dragons to take. And now they have to play like a retake. Like, see how Shanghai, like, they push out, and Shanghai are able to push out because they have so much space to work with, or they have so much less resistance to work with than Shanghai would. Like, it's just, it's infuriating. So now, they kill Fate, Void goes on an off angle, backline is stuck together here. Fleta is now kind of stuck here. Fleta does have a pulse, so he can make it work. And they're able to burn quite a bit of time off the clock here from Atlanta, but like, like there was a potential that this fight could have gone so poorly. Obviously, Kai hit a great shot here on the high ground. The timing also worked out in his favor. Aside from that, I think that in this vicinity here, my big issue with it is, again, they just let Shanghai walk out here for free. Like that to me is concerning. Like, you don't want that to happen, right? Because if you let Shanghai walk out for free, then I don't know. That's rough, man. Like, you leave it to a point where I kind of talk about it as, do you want to? I'll kind of talk about it after this next fight, because I think Shanghai wins off of this because of their ult economy here. So I'll talk about it after. But really lucky that Kai won that duel versus Lip. I know, dude. Like, it's crazy that if he didn't get that kill on Lip, then it's very likely it would have gone in Shanghai's favor 100% in my eyes. But windows get traded. Again, I love the window value that Iris goes for on these corners. Aggressive windows at these corners. They just want to fight. Shanghai is doing the same thing, just at a little bit of a further range. This time, I like the positioning from Atlanta. Pelican is on a very aggressive off angle with his copy. They're going to send a dragon on through here to force him away from the corner, and they have the window to use for the long range. This should force Shanghai in a very awkward spot, or at least force them to have to trank aggressively here. There's the trank. Lamp was used. Pulse from Fleta towards the backside to try to get a pick. He has to utilize Lamp instead. They don't have Trank. Trank's still kind of going on during this time, but Trank expired. Velka's expired. Second Flux has come out. Who's he gonna hit? He hits Void. Fake goes down. This fight is likely lost. They're pushing together on too. I feel like a lot of that had to do with great ults to take corner precedence and great kind of angle here from Pelican. So they go for a fight in this blue circle vicinity, and they were set up properly for it, and they utilized the ults really well to kind of push them away and push them back. Or if they were to fight in that area, push them in a really awkward position. Because of OT spawn, Shanghai can't fight for second here, or should not be able to fight for second. They're going to commit to this first corner on third. Again, they have a lot of big ults here. Atlanta has no ults online anymore. Dragons have Lips Dragon, and they have a Flux here. They have a Bongo as well. They just look to fight in this vicinity, and they should just win from their Flux Dragon combo, or maybe they just like Bongo at the start and then kind of do it. As long as they space out their ults properly, they should be fine. So they start with the Bongo. They use Dragon as well to try to take corner control. Flux after massive cooldowns are utilized, specifically that lamp. and they're able to clean up the fight. They're able to get the car in an ideal position. Hello, Popcat. Missed ya. Happy to hear. Glad to see you in the chat. Hopefully school's going well for you as well. It's been weird seeing you not here when I've been streaming, not gonna lie. So glad to see you around. Glad to see that you got a little bit of time to kind of pop in and say hi, at least. So going back to the point that I was talking about with Shanghai, the reason why like I'm a fan of Shanghai versus Rain as well, even with this double shield, is I feel like it goes back to that point of Shanghai is always set up so that it's so hard. They make them fight for every inch, where Atlanta isn't. Like Atlanta plays more so the style, like if I had to say their style, it's like this. A4 map control. Play. Play for our plan. This is how I describe like both team styles in terms of how they play. So for Rain, like I feel like a lot of their play comes from their mechanical skill. They always try to set up their carries, like they're trying to set up Kai and Pelican a lot of the time, by applying pressure one way and then Pelican comes across from the other way. In terms of general play though, I don't feel like they try to play for their plan. They don't try to play for them. They try to play based off of what the enemy does. So they try to capitalize on enemy mistakes. That's what I mean by play for enemy mistakes. Whereas Dragons, I feel like Dragons, they don't get me wrong, they have mechanically insane players. I will never not say that. But their main goal isn't to play for mechanics. Their main goal is to play for map control. They're always playing to control the map properly. And then aside from that, they never play for enemy mistakes. They play for their plan, our plan. What are we doing? What do we want to do? And they centralize really well with each other. And that's why I love Shanghai's style more, because they do play for that map control, because they do play for what they want to do. They don't care what the enemy wants to do. They they worry about it when it means that it's not a 50-50 chance for them, or it's a very large way for them to win, right? Or a big advantage for them. But it just feels so much cleaner in terms of proper play, I guess is the best way to put it. Atlanta just seems a lot more like there's a lot of lucky instances that happens, and a few times they just there's just so many times I feel like their mechanics carry them for sure, or they just set one person up to try to carry the whole thing and it just works out in their favor. I think a lot of teams struggle with this. They're too reactionary. I agree with you, Zinc. And I know a lot of coaches that have been in OWL and are in OWL currently right now, that when I speak with them or when we've talked, they are very reactionary based with things. They aren't very um I'll be honest with you, I think the biggest concept that OWL teams really miss out on is space control. They're so bad at controlling the map and controlling space. Whereas there are some contender teams, I would argue, that are potentially better at controlling space than OWL teams are. Um, but it's a key concept that a lot of teams misunderestimate, and I think Shanghai does incredibly well. And it's the same thing with reactionary play. I feel like so many players play to play the game, and they don't play to play with a purpose. There's no goal, there's no idea, there's no ideology of how to approach a comp or what to do. It's just they go into play and they kind of try to figure it out themselves, or they try to play around enabling this one character or one player, and that doesn't work all the time. That doesn't work at the top level anymore, and it's just very, very unfortunate, Zinc. But what are you gonna do, man? Like it is what it is. Like sadly, I'm not an AL coach. Like, even if I feel like that should be the proper way to play, doesn't really matter, right? Teams will be teams, and how they coach will be how they coach. But just because that's how things are for a majority, does not mean I agree with it. And like I said, I do agree with you. A lot of teams struggle with these aspects, and I think a lot of teams are too reactionary. If they want to be better, I think they need to be more proactive, and they need to be much more big on people about the premise of map control. And it's going to be a really big topic point to really kind of separate teams. Um, oh, you got an F on your organic chemistry? That feels bad, man. I'm sorry about that, Pop. I do have a graphic tablet, but I'm actually just writing with a mouse. I've just done this so much that writing with a mouse will be like so easy. Hopefully teams will emulate Shanghai. I hope so. I don't know if map control will be as important, to be fair with you, Zinc, in Overwatch 2. I feel like it still will be important, but maybe not as important as it is right now with 6v6 versus 5v5. But I hope to some semblance there will still be some sort of teams that emulate what Shanghai have, because I do think it's quite beautiful how Shanghai plays it. And I'll argue and go the counter way and say feel like Shanghai is a perfect example of a team that plays space incredibly fucking well and plays for their plans and plays for what they want to do. Whereas Dallas, for example, is an incredibly good team at playing together, doing things together. They're very strong at that, and I give credit to them for that too. So it's very unfortunate. I forgot about one tank. Yeah, man. It's going to be a lot harder to control space with one tank than it was with two, to be fair. It's going to be a lot more deathmatchy, I would say. All right, let's see. Does Shanghai do the same thing? Are they going to be able to control as much space as they did before? Well, we see an Echo this time, and on top of an Echo, we see that Izayaki was able to instantly kill Kai here. So this should pan out very, very well, actually, for Dragons. And you see, immediately as that's happening, Fleta and Fate are going aggressive in the backline. They're trying to create space for their backline to walk up, right? So as Yaki is walking up, the rest of the team is walking up. And you saw that because they got that pick onto Kai, they immediately start to apply pressure here. So instead of Lee Jae-gon and Void going with Izayaki over here, they decide to pressure through Hotel, right? And you see 5 members from Shanghai positioned aggressively. And just from that, Izayaki is able to take space for free onto point, and the rest of them are able to just pressure out Atlanta. They forced Atlanta to play a retake game. Like, that's honestly crazy. That came from 1 kill. The amount, like, 1 kill did that. It wasn't 4, it wasn't 3, it was 1 kill and good space and space kind of pressure and good understanding of what space to take that allowed them to do that. Like, that's honestly nuts. And then you look at this, like, remember how I talked about with Atlanta? They weren't playing to deny space a lot from Shanghai. Look at Shanghai. Atlanta's walking out and they're walking into a diva. The Tracer shooting them behind. Like, the Ball and Sombra are literally getting ready to spawn Camp Pelican and shoot these guys from behind, right? Lee Jae-gon is ready to be aggressive at this choke too if he needs to. Like, it's just nuts how hard they're making Atlanta have to fight for the space. They forced Orisa shift already. They forced shift from Hawk, right? And look at this. Like, Fleta's able to get a kill because they're forced to go backwards, right? You see a re-engage already coming out. Low resources as well on the side of Atlanta. Look at this. Izyaki's doing a great job of manipulating his hitbox around the car. Lee Jae-gon's just swinging on 2 people for free, right? It's just so beautiful. The amount of how they play around pressure from each other and how they just are able to just make it so that Atlanta has to use so many resources just to walk in, and eventually when they get to the point, they have nothing for themselves. It just makes me want to cry. They're so good, man. Like, it's so crazy. Overwatch 2 killed my spirits. To me, it's to some capacity same, but I want to see Overwatch 2 first before I kind of go doom and gloom. Look at this. Good aggression here. Obviously, every team sets up like this, but good aggression from Dragons to kind of set up early. They have a lot of ults to try to fight. Look at this. Lee Jae-gon's on point, and the reason Lee Jae-gon's on point, even though he's close to rally, is they feel like they'll have much higher impact with Zen forward because of Discord and because of the ults they have online, EMP, Pulse Bomb, potentially Mines as well, right? They allow Atlanta to walk out, but you look at the space that they control, they have multiple plans set up. If they walk through this way, they have to deal with Tracer Pulse Bomb here. And they have to deal with damage coming out from Diva up here and Izayaki up here. And then Lip can come all the way around here. If they make it through there somehow, then the next step for them is to go here, and they have to deal with an EMP in this vicinity here. And then they'll probably have to deal with a rally engagement. Like, so many plans. Like, watch what happens here. I didn't even talk about Ball going for an engagement around that little cubby area. Look at this. Fleta is pressuring. They understand there's so many ults that they have to go through that they decide to just stay at this corner. This corner, they don't have enough time to fight at this first corner here, so they give it up. Again, remember, that's the corridor of doom. You don't want to fight in there. They don't fight in there, so instead what ends up happening is they tee it up perfectly to where Atlanta were thinking about going for an aggressive window or going for an aggressive kind of bongo here. What ends up happening is Rally gets instantly popped by Lee Jae-gon into an EMP. They hit multiple members, and they just go for the kill. Like, and this all comes down to like Atlanta being indecisive and not sure if they want to fight aggressively here or like back up because they were so split. It was like a 3-3 split. And then they saw that the tanks and the front line were walking up forward here, and the back line, that's when they started to walk up. Because they thought that, oh, maybe we go for an aggressive fight. Shanghai used 3 ults to the 1 that Iris has, because Iris used the window to kind of force them back from chasing more. Shanghai still has 3 ults to close out this fight. They have Pulse, they have Diva Bomb, and they have a Trance. Fleta's Pulse gets eaten by Hawk. It's a good eat. Bomb location is very good. Look where that lands. Beautiful location. Can kill Kai. It's going to kill potentially Masa. Could kill Iris. Could demech Hawk. Lots of possibilities. And as that's all happening, Gator's trying to stop point. The rest of Shanghai are pressuring forward here. You have Lip that's already on this left side. He could commit even more on that left side. The rest of Shanghai are just kind of pushing through and brute forcing their way through main. Bomb kills Kai. They're able to kill Gator because Gator has no shift anymore. And they just now have to play together like they are, and they'll clean up the kills. I skipped backwards by mistake, but fucking like, what do you do? Like, if you're Atlanta and you're just not clearing these angles properly, and you're just like you're getting tempoed, and you're not able to deal with these very aggressive fights. Like, what do? You have 5-6 seconds to deal and track and do all this shit, and you can't do it in that time, and Shanghai just run over you. Like, and I don't just blame Atlanta. I just say that's just fucking insane. Like, that's nuts that Shanghai can get away with murder. Literal, actual murder. It's crazy. Imagine being Kai in that situation. There's somebody shooting at you from every side. Who do you even duel for space? That's the problem, right? Like, right when Kai dies and right when they're going for the recontest, that's why you can't, all of them couldn't go through the choke, right? Because if all of them go through the choke, then at that point, it just means that, hey, we're letting them set up angles for free. We're not trying to take space anywhere else on the map. That's when he has to, that's when, like, Atlanta, somebody from Atlanta, like Pelican and Masa, or just Kai, has to go through that high ground like Lip did, sorry, in the previous fight, right? When they were on defense, or attack before. No, defense, sorry. When they were on defense before, and Fleta got picked first, right? When he went for that flank all the way on the top there, Kai or Pelican had to do that so that they had some sort of control on the left side so they could help force out people more easily. But since all 5 of them went from the same choke, they just, like, there's so many angles. You're right. Like, who do you duel at that point? There's too many people to duel. And that's the problem. Like, again, Atlanta's not being creative enough with space, and they're just brute forcing their way through. And Shanghai is just abusing it because of how they're playing space and the amount of angles they have. It's just honestly crazy. Like, Shanghai is just one of the best at it, and it's fucking fantastic to see. Zinc. Fucking brilliant as hell.